Minimum gear requirements for a class. Should you have them, or should you let people run what they have? Let's talk about that. Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I am the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The purpose of this video is to discuss the difference between running what you brung and having a minimum gear requirement for a class. When it comes to a training class, the firearms school can choose to either allow students to run whatever kind of equipment they bring, or they can set up a minimum equipment list. Now, to be fair, all classes have some sort of a minimum equipment list, lest a student, let's say, for example, for a rifle class, bring a pistol. They will tell you, in general, a broad thing of what to bring. But the question is, how much guidance should be given? How much of a parameter should the gun school put around what needs to be brought? That is the purpose of this video, is to investigate and discuss the options between the two concepts of running what you brung versus having a minimum gear requirement. First off, run what you brung. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons. One of the pros, if somebody actually has a gun that resembles what they need to have for that class, they are likely to bring that gun. They are much more likely to attend if they have the gun that is needed for that class. And meanwhile, if somebody does not have the gun for that kind of a class, they are much less likely to attend. So this is a definite pro for the run what you brung mentality, because you could hypothetically attract more students. One of the cons might be that the gun is just not really adequate for the class. And I've seen these in several different kinds of classes where somebody brought a gun that was not adequate for the coursework presented. And what generally happens is that person tends to have to fight their equipment the entire class, and so they don't learn anywhere near as much as if they had had the correct minimum amount of equipment. I'll give an example. Somebody brought a .22 caliber pistol to Essential Pistol at Patriot Training one time. And this shooter, although well-intended, wanted to save some money. And save money they did. However, when it came time to work malfunctions, a malfunction popped up with this pistol, and instead of tapping and racking every time the student saw a Type 1 malfunction, what they learned was that was not helping on this .22 caliber pistol. What they had to do was tap the back of the slide. And what was happening is the firing pin was being fired while the slide was still slightly out of battery, and therefore it was not striking the back end of the round. And so what they found is if they patted the back of the slide into place, they could actually fire the shot then. Now, of course, the obvious problem with this situation is the person carried a 9mm, and I've never seen where you needed to, the only malfunction issue you have is to seat the slide back into place. A tap and a rack, generally for most striker style 9mm carry guns, will fix a multitude of problems. So they were practicing a technique that they were very, very unlikely to ever need in a carry situation. So they were getting very, very good at a very unique malfunction remedy instead of getting good at the malfunction remedy they were most likely to see. This is counterproductive. So it's possible that a run what you brung mentality might cause a situation that just isn't realistic. Another con to run what you brung is some guns just are not good. I give an example of a High Point or a Taurus Gen 2. These guns, I've seen some of them in Essential Pistol, and they almost never make it to noon on day one. And, we only fire about 170 to 200 rounds on the day, so it's not like we're just, blasting away and performing some kind of torture test in the class. But, a gun that falls apart on you is obviously not going to be good to bring. You need to bring a certain minimum standard of equipment so that you can get the most out of the class. Now, up until now, when somebody has done this at Patriot Training. We've had a loaner on standby, and we were able to get the person up and running with, a good quality loaner gun. And many of these students have gone on to purchase a gun similar to the loaner they got. And it was a lesson learned. However, not all schools and not all students can do this in every situation, and that could lead to situations where a student does not get their money's worth out of the class. Their gun goes down, and they don't have any other options, and they just have to sit and watch the rest of the day, and that stinks. That's no fun. Let's talk about the other side of the coin. When there is a minimum gear requirement. So as a pro, students that have a minimum gear requirement very rarely have any kind of a problem that requires them to fight their equipment for any length of time. On the rare occasions when they do have to fight the equipment, we have loaners in place. And as an anecdote, about the only problem we ever actually really do see is in rifle classes. People bring their AR-15s, and we will hear that the AR-15 is not properly lubricated. You can hear it because when they're reciprocating the bolt, it's metal on metal screeching. And so maybe the first 2 shots or 3 shots go off without a hitch, but by lunchtime we're seeing some issues. And so myself or one of the assistant instructors will go and inspect the gun, and we can immediately tell if it's not properly lubricated. We can hear the bolt, as it works its way through the gun, and it, hear that it's not properly lubricated. So I'll often ask, did you lubricate your gun? And they'll say, yes, of course I did. And very commonly my sarcastic reply back is, what did you use? 1 drop? And I've literally had somebody say, no, I used 2. And they thought that was enough. So lubricating a bolt is the only thing that I do liberally. So I lubricate the snot out of that bolt for the student, and they go, oh, that's how much. And without fail, every time we see that in the class, that rifle tends to run absolutely flawlessly for the rest of the weekend. No hiccups, no bumps, no bruises, unless, of course, they're using steel ammo, and that's a different animal all by itself. As a con, having a minimum gear requirement could potentially frighten away some potential students. I don't have enough equipment to take this class. One way we tackle that at Patriot Training is we have loaner equipment for every class that we put on. We have loaner equipment that will not only suffice, it'll be excellent for that class. And students can rent this free of charge and, use our equipment. And heck, we even clean it up for you afterwards. You don't have to do anything special or fancy. We just require that you bring the proper ammunition. So that one con does exist, and that could hypothetically frighten students away, and I get it. And so we overcome that with what I think is a very logical solution. Well, folks, that about does it for this video. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me about it down in the comments. Do you have an anecdote or something you wish to share that you believe will add to the conversation? Maybe something that supports what I've said. Maybe it's something that contradicts what I've said. I'd love to hear about it down there in the comments section. I would encourage you to hit like, hit subscribe, click that notification bell so that you can learn when the next Patriot Training video is being dropped. And, as always, I must remind you that you don't have to be a Patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to be a Patriot. Take care.